Hello, students. I wanted to speak to you briefly about essay titles. Years ago, I would occasionally be surprised when a student would submit an essay with no title on it. And I thought to myself, well, have they ever seen an essay that didn't have a title? No. So why would they submit one without a title? And so my first guess was that they were sort of pressed for time at the end, and a title was just something they could do without. And then the more I thought about it, I realized that they possibly didn't know that there are a couple of rules for titles for academic essays. So what I plan to do here now is give you rules for the two approaches to academic essay. The first approach is the noun phrase colon explanation of noun phrase, and the second is the journalistic pun. Okay? This first one, Rewriting History, Scientists Revise Creation Narratives. So, not great, but it would be an appropriate title on an essay that talks about the fact that scientific accounts of creation are somehow revisions of earlier accounts of creation. Somewhat problematic because the creation narratives aren't actually history, so they're not rewriting history, but could be usable. The next one, Plato's Allegory of the Cave, the MTV of 4th century BCE. So that would be for an essay that talks about Plato's Allegory of the Cave's reliance upon visual images in order to communicate its message. Dialogue versus letter, which genre is more persuasive? So if one were comparing, say, E.O. Wilson's letter or Plato's dialogue, this would be an opportunity to talk about the degree to which one genre or the other was more suited to the presentation of a persuasive argument. Existentialism is a humanism. Footnote to Plato or complete refutation. So this is a text that is often read in Great Ideas 2. And so the idea that if Sartre's existentialism is a humanism, what is its relationship to Plato? Is it just a footnote, or is he basically going 180 degrees away from Plato, in which case it is more than a footnote? Descartes' discourse, anti-dogma or just a new dogma? So René Descartes came up with the dialogue, and this was supposedly the one in which he says, I think, therefore I am. So this was the beginning of modernity, and what we have now is replacing religious dogma with rationalism. But some people would say that Descartes' rationalism is just as dogmatic as the religious dogmatism that preceded it. And this is one of my favorites. It was at an academic conference, and the person is talking about the loss of the perfect tense. So we have some verbs like walk, walked, walked. The perfect tense is just the same as the past tense, but in other ones it changes, like go, went, gone. So this person was arguing that the perfect tense has quite a bit of it has disappeared. So the title was The Loss of the Perfect, How Far Has It Went? Now, this next group are ones that are sort of based on journalistic puns, which often refer to popular culture. And so these were in Slate magazine, and these are actual titles of scientific journal articles. Wax on, wax off, pubic hair grooming and potential complications. The next one, guess who's not coming to dinner? Evaluating online restaurant reservations for disease surveillance. Nifty ways to leave your lover. The tactics people use to entice and disguise the process of human mate poaching. So that one makes a reference to a popular Paul Simon song. You probably think this paper is about you. Narcissists' perception of their personality and reputation. Another reference to a popular song. And then carbon monoxide to boldly go where NO has gone before. So NO would be nitrous oxide. And then finally we have one here. It was recent headline in the sports section of a newspaper, and it was about a football player by the name of Antonio Brown, who since then has been in the news even more and now may be out of football forever. But at this point, he was just whining about a fine that was imposed upon him And so we've got Raiders receiver Browns fine wine. And then because it is written, you can see that it is not a drinkable wine, but the kind of hearable wine. So those are some examples of the kinds of titles that get the interest of the reader and possibly, provide a little bit of wit and sometimes give you an insight into what the paper is actually about.